Okay, now you are introduced to the ecosystem structure that was under biotic community. Now we are going to have a quick look on what all topics we are going to cover and what they are if we talk specifically. First topic that we will study is trophic organization. What is trophic organization? The species which are present within an ecosystem, how they are arranged when the food interactions are to be dealt. As I told you, in the trophic organization we had food chain and food web. Okay. Now, in terms of food interactions, we have our organisms classified into certain categories of producers and consumers, those which make their own food and those which consume what producers have made. So, this is the categorization and the organization at trophic levels. Now, these trophic levels are made within an ecosystem considering the species, how they are interacting with other species in terms of food procurement. Okay, so that is what we have to study in trophic organization. We study food chains, we study food webs, and in terms of trophic organization only we see the ecological pyramids, okay, of the ecosystem. Now this is all about studying the ecosystem, so we see the stratification as well. As I told you, vertical layers are to be studied in the vegetation. So, we are going to see a few examples of stratification and understand what it actually is. Then we have within the ecosystem, apart from the organizations, how the species are interacting within themselves. Now, talking about species interactions, we have intraspecific interactions and we have interspecific interactions. Now, intraspecific interactions, as the name suggests, intra means within the species. If we are considering the example of dogs, so various breeds of dog would be interacting within themselves, or we talk about, supposedly you have an example of a forest where wild cats are interacting. So, they all belong to one species. So, how a lion is interacting with a leopard, or how a leopard is interacting with a cheetah, or it is interacting with a tiger in a given ecosystem would be part of intraspecific interaction. The second type is interspecific. As the name suggests, it would be between species. How a lion is interacting with species of zebra. Certainly, it is going to eat it. It is its food. So, we have interspecific interactions as well, where two different species are interacting, and we study that as well in this topic. Then we have biotic stability. A community often seeks a stage where it is in stability with the environmental conditions, and that is known as biotic stability. So, we are going to read that as well. Then we have biotic succession. Now, as you can see in this, it would be something related to biotic communities and it would be related to succession. Now, succession itself is quite descriptive in its way, because it is an English word. Successive, something successive is going to come. So, it is a series of steps where biotic communities are establishing themselves in such a way that it is in equilibrium with the environmental conditions whichever are prevalent in the ecosystem. Now, this is little bit heavy. We will get to know what it is. I am going to repeat it so that once we start, you get an idea what we have to study. See, every ecosystem has given environmental conditions that are abiotic. Apart from that, there are biotic conditions as well. Now, biotic conditions or the biotic components of the ecosystem always try to be in best suited manner, or rather say at equilibrium with the environment, so that they can survive over there. So, the biotic communities evolve and evolve and evolve and try to establish themselves in such a way so that an equilibrium is attained, and that equilibrium follows successive steps which is studied under biotic succession. Now, again I would say that this must have gone overhead. Never mind, when we study it, I will try my best so that you understand it in a good way. And lastly, once we are talking about succession, we see that how biotic communities are replaced. Apart from that, at organismic level, at individual organisms level, or rather say it genetically in a better way, apt way, It is at the species level, the species adapt themselves according to the environment for their survival, and those adaptations are often at genetic level, and it is termed as ecological adaptation. So, we are going to see that as well. Simply take the example of camouflage, that is changing of color within that within certain lizards, so that they are not seen clearly in the surroundings which they are sitting. So, that is part of ecological adaptation, and this is part of your entire topic that we have to study. These are the subtopics which would be covered under this topic of biotic community. So, brace yourself, we are going to start with it in the next lesson.